80,000 refugees live in camps along the border between Thailand and Myanmar. They fled to Thailand because of conflicts between Myanmar's military and its ethnic armies. 30 years on, many are still unable to return. May Wong reports.
These may look like ordinary homes in a rural village, except they're not. The occupants are Myanmar refugees, majority ethnic Karen, who aren't allowed to leave the compound as they're watched 24/7. Of some 80,000 refugees in Thailand, almost half of them are aged 18 and below. These are children most likely born inside a refugee camp like this. This is Mela Camp, one of 9 located along the Thai-Myanmar border. Unfortunately, these kids probably will only know of a lifestyle inside a refugee camp, being a refugee. At this stage, they seem unlikely and unable to get back to Myanmar. Zozo, who has been living as a refugee in Thailand for 15 years.
I feel expressed. I want to get out of here, but I can't.
You want to go home?
No.
Why?
I will go to Bangkok. Many problems. I don't want to go.
What problems?
Kuwa.
But our conversation was abruptly cut short. After a while, the Thai authorities are not allowing us to step outside of the van to video this camp anymore. But I just want to point out to you that back in 2012, before Aung San Suu Kyi was governing Myanmar, she visited this Mela camp occupied by Myanmar refugees, mainly from the bordering state of Karen. And at that time, she was quoted as saying, "For our people to return, we must provide them with peace and prosperity." Although 10 ethnic armed groups have already signed the nationwide ceasefire agreement, citizens are still experiencing periodic fighting and some breaches of the pact. The government has been trying to encourage more to join the agreement, but many ethnic armed groups are hesitant as they're not convinced the national military will honor the pact. Sisiwa managed to get special permission from the Thai authorities to live outside of the refugee camp for a temporary period of time. She came to a Thai refugee camp when she was only about 5 years old.
I don't want to see my next generation or my younger and brother, sister to feel like me. Maybe if they grow up, they will feel like me. No one care there. No one know that they are illegal in the world.
Year after year, the refugees continue to hold on to hope that they'll one day return to their own home country of Myanmar. At least that's what they were promised.
In 2012, NLD came to visit the camp. Aung San Suu Kyi herself came to visit the camp, and she said, "I will not forget you." That's her word that she left to the refugee.
Last year, fewer than 3,000 refugees have returned home, most of them voluntarily and risking their lives. To create a conducive and safe environment for refugees to return to Myanmar, help organizations say the government must first develop a policy dealing with refugees.
Here they're very much in a limbo. They've come from Burma, most of them do not have their civil documentation, and so they are stuck in these refugee camps. What's being done for them? There is no refugee policy in Myanmar. There's no central policy about refugee return. So although we are seeing people going back, most people are going back into areas where it is rural subsistence agriculture. There is very little opportunity in the way of livelihoods.
Sisiwa agrees, saying her 69-year-old grandmother is resigned to the fact that she'll most unlikely be able to return home to Myanmar and will spend the rest of her life in the refugee camp.
Like my grandmother told me, if I die in refugee, maybe I will die. But I don't want you to see you still living in refugee. One day, I think, if you have education, maybe you can change. So my grandma told me, I cannot give you money, I cannot give you power. Just I give you knowledge and the education. Study yourself and then see what is going on in the world.
May Wong, CNA, Mesot, Thailand.